All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode, Sports Yak Podcast. We just, I mean, not we just, but we saw the lottery last night. Recording this on Wednesday afternoon. We also saw the Heat get a big win last night. Pretty surprising that they came back after Tatum had a huge half in the first half. But yeah, we're here to talk about the lottery teams right now with a Magic fan and a Thunder fan.
We got Tank
Probably the
City in
most
here.
most important night of the season, probably for you guys.
Worst,
But
the only thing.
Yeah, Tim, how you feeling about that number two?
We're riding high, man. Feeling great. Was super nervous during the whole thing. And once they got to at least that number four, the commercial break, and I knew the Thunder had top four, took a sigh of relief. And then it was just all gravy. Once, number two, I'll take it. So can't be happier.
We got Omar after a long hiatus. Probably had one of the worst win pools, but it's all right. It's all right.
Wait, were you worse than
Yeah.
me?
Oh, we talking about the wind pools. Oh, was I at the bottom?
I don't know,
Uh,
man.
I,
It doesn't really matter. You
I
guys were all
definitely
like
was.
bottom three.
I don't remember, but I definitely was down there with you. So there you go.
That's what happens when I decided to take the Orlando Magic. Always failing me.
I don't think you took up too high, but it's whatever. How are you feeling, Omar? Like you were
Oh,
saying before the pod, you would probably
yeah.
be happy to get that top three.
It's dude. Yeah, I would have been happy for a top four. Like it feels surreal. Last time we got first round or first overall was with Dwight Howard, and then Shaq before that. So it's been a solid like 18 years, I think, since our first overall. So we always pick fifth, sixth, eighth. That's all we get. But first pick, here we go.
And yeah, we were speaking last night about the history of like the first pick is usually, I mean, obviously the first pick is usually an all-star. Magic have had some pretty good luck with that, but they haven't had as much luck with the like, the other picks in the top 10. I was just looking at the draft history on the like for the Magic. They have like obviously Isaac, Gordon,
Mm-hmm.
Oladipo, uh Mario Hazonia.
Oh, no,
so,
no, 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 no. We don't talk about him.
so it's been some rough years, but who do you like? I know you were liking Chet earlier in the year, but who do you like?
I've really been jumping around like from I think really you can't probably go wrong talent wise with either Chet, Jabari, or Paolo. I'd say for the top three. The only thing that concerns me are I think skill wise they're all good. I'd say we got Chet. I'm scared of drafting another skinny project tall guy who looks like they're gonna break. I think it's PTSD from having Jonathan Isaac. You know, maybe and then Mo Bamba also we drafted him skinny. And he gets pushed around in the paint a lot. He can't really guard like big centers. So I mean, Chet's defense was pretty filthy at Gonzaga, and like I don't know, I like him, but I'm leaning more towards Paolo. I kind of want someone who's going to be a go-to guy for the Magic, who will be aggressive and can try to get us a bucket. And then Jabari also, has the offensive skills, and obviously he's a really good defender. But then the only problem with him is his shot creation and like off the dribble. I want to see if maybe he'll be able to like grow his handles for the NBA.
You know what's interesting about Jabari? I was listening this morning to one of my favorite Thunder podcasts, and they were talking about all the prospects or whatnot. But they were mentioning I was not aware of this with Jabari. He actually like is not very athletic. Like his defense isn't bad, but like his athleticism is actually doesn't like
Oh,
jump off at you. And they were listing off like a list of guys that had been drafted that were like at his size and played his number of minutes and had like the as few blocks and like steal percentage or some some type of advanced metrics. I can't remember exactly what it was, but the list was all a bunch of just like white shooters. Like it
I
was
think I
not
think it was
guys.
blocks and dunks. I think that was like the
Yeah,
stat.
that's what it was. Yeah, you're 100% right. Because he only had like 15 dunks on the year.
wow.
Yeah,
For a six
and
ten guy.
exactly. So that kind of surprised me actually. I haven't like I'm not going to say I've sat there and like watched these guys at length. I think all three have a good argument for going number one. And then there's also, some arguments against him, obviously. So it's interesting. And the other thing that's interesting to me too is that, and they were really talking about the Thunder, it was a Thunder podcast, but they did talk a little bit about like, well, the Magic maybe should try to play the Rockets and the Thunder against each other and see if they could maybe, get another pick or something and trade down kind of like a Fultz, Tatum type, that kind of situation that played out. So that could be interesting, looking at it from the Thunder fans side, like whoever you guys take number one, if you take Chet, then hey, we'll take whoever Presti wants is kind of how Thunder fans view it. We have a little bit more faith, I think, than maybe Magic fans do in their front office. But there's a lot of possibilities out there. It's really, really interesting. And they're going to shake up. I think don't most of the experts have Jabari kind of number one right now? Is that where it's at?
That's what I'm seeing in a lot of the mock drafts.
I believe ESPN, I think, had Jabari going number one to the Magic.
It's funny thing you bring up the athleticism part because he had like a couple of sick dunks in the tournament, but I guess like that's more due to his length than his like athleticism. I guess maybe his wingspan, because like he's still like 6'10". He kind of reminds me a little bit about like a Tatum, a little bit like that on the like just his body wise. But obviously Tatum has a really good handle that helps him in the half court offense, which. Yeah, like Omar was saying, like his handling is not that great, and he's a better shooter. I think he would automatically be like the best shooter on the Magic if he comes on the team.
The same for the Thunder, probably.
Yeah.
And Chet is really, to me, like the most interesting one because like he has the highest upside, but also the biggest like bust potential because of just kind of what you mentioned with his frame. And skinny guys have injury problems, and he hasn't had anything to necessarily give you worry. I'm pretty sure, at least I'm not like super into his medicals, but yeah. But the thing that was super interesting about him, you kind of alluded to it, Omar, is like his steal and block rate was like insane. His foot speed maybe leaves a little bit to desired, but with that wingspan, I feel like it really kind of sneaks up on people where, and he's maybe a little bit more athletic than you would think he is when you look at him because he just looks so goofy, like you look at him, you're like, what is this guy? And it's funny because they were also talking about how that, they did a big draft party or lottery party last night in Oklahoma City, and they were talking about on the podcast today about just kind of polling everyone in the audience of like, who do you like? And I guess everyone there was mostly Jabari fan, and I guess the most like hated person was Chet. Don't give me Chet, just because I think the bust potential scares some people. But when you're drafting one or two, like you kind of want that upside though. So
yeah.
I don't know.
I think it's really gonna depend on like who shows the best workout when they come like play against the Magic players or whatever drills they put them through, because like if Chet has a really good shooting day that day, I feel like that could sway like the Magic front office plus all his length and defense and all that. But the only problem I had with Chet was because you have Wendell Carter who's obviously a center, but you have Wagner, you have Isaac, you have potentially Okiki, Bamba. I feel like Bamba is probably on his way out, to be honest. But I feel like you're hindering the development of Wagner. But if you really believe that Chet is like the number one guy, then obviously you're gonna take him.
To me, without just like my gut, just feels like the Magic are gonna take Paolo.
Really?
You think so?
Yeah, I don't know why. Like I can't exactly like put it into words, but that's just like what my gut just like tells me. And I partially, I feel like because he's kind of the like most, like he's the floor guy, right? I mean, he already has the body, because that's going to be the knock whenever you get into Jabari and Chet. But Jabari, like if you look at him, he's not great creating off the dribble yet. He could become that. And a lot of his shot creation was just kind of like a one dribble turnaround pull up. And I was already seeing on Twitter last night people putting together him kind of getting pushed off his spot and just being a smaller guy. He's got the height, but he's kind of KD slender man. He gives me that kind of vibes, but without the handle. So it's like so that's going to be kind of the knock on him. But the one there's really not as many weaknesses if you look at Ben Chayar. Like, I mean, he's got the body. He's maybe not as
He
pure of
just
a
looks like
shooter, but
Tobias
like,
Harris. He looks like that. He just has like the body.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like he's broad shouldered, man, but and he can just score. And really, the knock on him is going to be that he's not a great defender, but like you can easily sell that as like he has athleticism to become a good enough defender, that he doesn't hurt you.
That's the thing. Yeah, he's got the size, and for a guy who is he listed at 6'8" or 6'10", I'm not sure, one of those, but he's got the size and the way he moves at that size. How fluid he is. I feel like it really shows his athleticism and whatnot. The thing is, like, yeah, I could envision the Magic front. Like, I like your gut feeling that Magic want to take Paolo. But I have a bad feeling in my stomach that we're gonna take Chet. He just seems like the type that Jeff Weltham likes.
So
the tall, skinny defender. Not necessarily skinny, but tall, long arm defender.
They list him at
threes.
6'10", 250 is what
6'10", 250. So like he's got a big body, and the way he moves with that body, like I think that his athleticism will like 100% transfer to the NBA. Like we don't have that quite athleticism with Jabari and Chet right there, so they don't have like that to fall back on if, like, let's say Jabari's handles are like throwing him off of like the NBA game. I think Jabari could fit in really good with the Magic though. We got playmakers like Markelle Fultz, and we got Suggs coming into his second year. We got Cole Anthony, third-year guard. So we have guys who could probably be able to create shots, good looks for Jabari. Spot up threes, and then Jabari reminds me a lot of like Rashard Lewis. Tall, sharpshooter. Maybe Jabari's a little bit better of a defender, I'd say, possibly. But I don't know. Rashard Lewis is also solid in his own. The only problem is I feel like the Magic, we've been stuck in this rebuild for a while, and we've been drafting mainly guys who can, defend. And, usually our front office likes to go for the length. But I feel like now that we got the number one pick, and we're trying to push for playoffs this season, we already have a ton of terrific defenders. I feel like hopefully the Magic will push for more of an offensive player like Paolo.
That's why I think they go with him, man, because I think that there's just so much overlap with what they currently have with Chet that they kind of talk themselves out of that, even though he's the most intriguing, because you don't see Chet necessarily, and this isn't to say he couldn't become it, but like you don't project him necessarily to be that guy that's going to be a 25, 30-point scorer and be like your true, like, go get me a bucket and down the crunch time and win me this game. Maybe he becomes that, but he seems kind of more like, he's got a really good feel for the game, and he's really unique the way that he can handle the ball at his size. But you wonder how some of that might translate into the NBA if the defenders can maybe pick his pocket a little bit, how tight his handle really is, that kind of thing. But yeah, I just feel like because of where the Magic are at with their roster and how they have so many guys that are very similar to that they're going to talk themselves out of it. And then whenever they get down to it, I feel like they're going to talk themselves into Paolo. Like that's just what my gut tells me. And also maybe that's just a little bit of hope, because kind of feel like that's the guy I don't want the Thunder to take. Honestly, I'm kind of questioning it, and I need to watch more of them before I really have a strong opinion. But I'm also kind of questioning what's his name? Shaedon Sharpe, man. Like,
that's
right?
that's the wild card.
Yeah. And here's what I want. And we can keep talking about the Magic some, but here's an interesting thought. So, and Yusuf, I know you saw this on Twitter, how I was talking about how the Thunder should go get Ayton. I don't know. Maybe I'm out on that. I'm not sure, but
Nurkic is also restricted or unrestricted. I'm not sure. Maybe I feel like that would be interesting if they don't swing on Ayton.
Yeah, exactly. There's somebody out there that maybe they could get at that spot, but maybe they should get Chet. I don't know. But here's what I think would be crazy. Let me toss this out there. And I didn't have this idea until I was listening to the podcast this morning. They kind of floated this idea, and it really got my wheels turning. Thunder have a mountain of picks. We all know this. And they're sitting at 12 with that Clippers pick, and then 2. They also got 30 sitting out there. And there's 2 teams really that in that top 7, I think, that would look to be making a trade. That would be Sacramento and Portland. Sacramento at 4. Let's just look at that right there. they might be interested in maybe taking 12, 30, maybe a first rounder next year. Who knows? Maybe Dort is who you throw at them. Maybe they like Dort, something like that. And you can flip a small package and get up to 4. And then
You're trying to get 2 top 5 picks.
You take Chet and you take Sharp. Oh, that's my new ultimate Thunder move. That's what we should do.
I like the gamble on Sharp. Like, I know we don't have any college tape of him, but I think he just had a workout either yesterday or the day before. And from what I've heard, it was good things. You know, I think he's listed at 6'5.5", with like a 7-foot wingspan, and he's athletic. Like, he seems like he could be a monster.
We don't have the college film, but you can look at some of those workouts and you see his body and the way he moves and his size. And then they say that he's a great shooter. I don't know. That's kind of tough to see in workouts because there's plenty of guys that I've seen, you know, that knock down shots when no one's guarding them. Yeah, well, not even that. I mean, like there's some guys that I saw at USF when I was at GA down here where I was like, that guy can shoot. And then we get in
practice, like I feel like everybody shoots like 5% better.
Exactly. Well, more than that. But anyway, so I don't put a ton of stock into like seeing somebody shoot and drills it. But, you know, his form, I guess, looks nice and that kind of thing. But yeah, he's the wild card. And, you know, they were talking to on the pod where like, they were like, you know, it wouldn't totally shock Thunder fans if he just gets drafted number 2. That's a Presti thing to do. You know what I mean? Like, just if he thinks that that's the guy and you know, he could be the next, like another T-Mac, I think is the comparison I've been hearing. Just a guy that goes out there and can just get you buckets on buckets. And, you know, you see it right now with the Mavericks and stuff, having multiple ball handlers that you can space out that also, you know, he's got the size, like you said, could be a defender, you know, pair him with Shea and Giddey, and you have a bunch of guys right there that can switch, that have 6'6", 6'8", 6'5", you know, that kind of thing. So that's really intriguing too, but that's really kind of feels like also swinging for the fences. And
what do you think? Like the Thunder, like obviously like point guard, I feel like is kind of set with SGA. Like, do you think any other position is really set?
Giddey's actually kind of our point guard.
Right.
But it's kind of one of those things where like SGA can play the point, but he's maybe a little bit better off ball. But, you know, the way that they were playing last year was very fluid as far as like, you know, any number of guys. Even Dort was initiating the offense a fair amount. You know, so that's kind of the style they want to play, is that positionless basketball. So that, you know, it feeds into having guys that are athletic, that can play multiple positions, that can handle, that can shoot, you know, and do all those type of things. That's where, you know, adding Chet into the mix with all the things that he can do at his size. And then maybe, like I said, if they could trade back up and get that number 4 pick or something like that, get a Sharp, then you're really looking for the Thunder as like, man, that just has a lot of upside there. Like Sharp could be your best player. Chet could be your second best player. SGA is just, you know, he's already solid, and Giddey's there initiating kind of as more of a setup guy. But, you know, yeah, it gets me really excited.
Yeah. So. I feel like any of the 3 franchises, like Houston, Oklahoma, Orlando, will probably be happy. They'll be satisfied with what they get, and they won't like be too mad with what they get. It looks like most mocks have Oklahoma taking Chet and then Houston taking Paolo. That the Kings is probably like the wild card because they already have Fox, and the next best player is probably Ivy, which maybe they also take Sharp. I don't know. Like, that's also probably a Kings thing to do. Maybe take the swing on.
I don't know, man. I don't know if that's a Kings thing to do. Actually,
they take like more of the floor, kind of right?
Pick. Yeah. Marvin Bagley's,
Davion Mitchell. Yeah. Actually, you might be right with that.
So I'm saying we just need to convince them that they don't want to take any of these guys, and that they want to get some more picks, and maybe a Dort, man. If we've got to throw Trey Mann in there, let's throw Trey Mann in there. Although I don't necessarily want to do that, but I don't know, man.
I feel like you could maybe trade up with New Orleans and maybe give them Dort, maybe get number 8. I feel like that would be pretty good. But you obviously want to get that top 5.
Yeah, I want Sharp, man. But I also don't want to necessarily pick him 2.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, like he could go at 2, or he could be falling to like, you know, 8 or 9.
That's true. I mean, if he falls, yeah, that's definitely possible. it's really tough because you have no idea with him not playing at Kentucky what NBA GMs think of him, and where they're valuing him, and it kind of depends a little bit on the situation too. Because if you're on the hot seat as a GM, maybe you don't make that move because that's the risky move. Well, maybe you do make it if you're on the hot seat. I don't know. Who knows, man? It's impossible to say.
I mean, a lot of these gyms are going to be putting their job on the line, especially I feel like Orlando. They have to hit on this pick, or else it's probably going to be like a reset in the front office.
Ooh, I would not like that again. Go through that process again. New GMs. I feel like I do like our front office like with their draft history, the current one at least, not with Rob Hennigan era.
So the current one is what? Suggs, Wagner, Cole.
Yeah, so like they got Wagner at 8, and I didn't even know who Wagner was, to be honest. I was like, who the hell did we just draft? But that was a pleasant surprise because he was obviously in the rookie race or rookie of the year race last year. Good playmaker, good size, hits his threes. That's the thing. We do have a lot of forwards right now. So I even forgot, honestly, for a second that we had Chuma Okeke, another like long defender. And so I feel like we have him and Isaac, who are both kind of similar play styles. Isaac obviously could be like an elite defender if he actually, can play a full healthy season.
Yeah.
So I feel like I think this season we're probably gonna make some trade moves. I'm thinking either Isaac or maybe Chuma is gone. We're probably sticking with the core, I'm guessing, of Suggs. Cole's probably staying for a bit, and then Franz obviously, and I think Wendell Carter. I think Mo Bamba's on the table. Isaac or Chuma could be on the table. So maybe we could trade those things to possibly even like get another pick or something.
And all of these guys are like 23 and under. Like they're all like super young.
Yeah, I think the age of our starting lineup was about 24 years old, I think, this season. But like our starting lineup was actually top 10 in like, I think overall like net for a long time this past season. So like it's promising.
But they had a lot of injuries, I think, this season. But
a lot of injuries,
I feel like next year they might be like they want to be in the play-in race. I feel like.
Yeah, I hope so. So that's why I'm hoping. Like maybe, like I think definitely with this current team, I think we could shoot for the play-in tournament if healthy. That is keyword healthy, and then that's why I'm hoping that whatever number one pick our office decides to choose, hopefully I could even see us maybe propelling up to like 7th, 8th seed. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm being a little hopeful, but like if we're healthy,
I don't know. The East is actually kind of deep now.
Yeah.
The East is kind of deep.
Charlotte is probably going to get better too.
Charlotte's going to get better. I'm banking on our defense. I think our defense could be nice with the lineup of like, if we have Fultz, Suggs, one of Isaac or Franz or Chuma and Franz, and then Wendell Carter. I think our defense will be really good. But that's why I'm banking on this draft. I really hope we pick the offensive player. Like I like Chet. Chet's game is great, Like he could kind of sort of not run the offense, but like he doesn't like get the ball stuck. He won't be doing some ISO stuff. He'll be passing the ball. He'll be an anchor on our defense. But I see him as a long-term project, and I don't think we could afford to get another project at this time.
That's why I love him for the Thunder.
Like, even though you guys were like kind of in the play-in race too, like in the beginning of the season, the Thunder.
Well, for both these teams next year, really, I think the upper limit for them would be, and I guess it depends a little bit on some free agency and stuff like that, trades that you could make, whatever. We don't know what the roster is going to look like heading into the season, but realistically, it feels like being in that play-in race seems like kind of best case for both of these teams that we're talking about. But yeah, the Thunder are interesting because like they obviously were tanking. I mean, we've been tanking the past 2 years. We had 2 years ago, we had a decent roster, some decent players, and we're just like, all right, shut them down. SGA, you're done playing, dude. You're not playing there. And I think there was, 2 seasons ago, his plantar fasciitis is what they said was keeping him out. I don't want to say that wasn't a thing, but I'm sure they were being
they were in the playoffs in the bubble.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they were,
both teams were actually, I think.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's interesting for the Thunder because it's kind of the timing. Like this is going to be one of the last they maybe have one more off season, I think, where they're going to have some cap space where they can bring somebody in. I haven't looked at it that closely, but they're going to be closing in on that window, kind of, where they're going to be capped out with some of these draft picks. But right now it's just really SGA that they got that's going to be coming on a big contract. So you can still kind of tank one more year if you want. And so they're going to be faced with, depending on how things go. And that's why I kind of like the idea of if you could trade a Dort, who's maybe a pretty good NBA contributor right now, and get Sharp, who's gives you more upside, but is still a project. And you get Chet, who's obviously going to need to take some time to, get size and get familiar with the NBA game. So you could tank one more year if you're the Thunder, because you could roll out for the first 40 games or so your full lineup, and then slowly just start shutting down SGA, Giddey, let Sharp just really, run the point and take over. Let Chet really, get a lot of minutes down the stretch and just lose a bunch of games, and then have one more crack at the lottery. See if you can get one more like top 3 pick. And
gotta get that French guy. That's like the new Chet, basically.
Yeah, the new Chet. Get him in there, and then you're really rolling if you're the Thunder. But it's going to be a thing where they're going to come at a certain point of the season where if the team's competitive and they're in that play-in race, like the franchise isn't going to pull like a Sixers where they're like, no, we're still tanking. Like they're going to try to be competitive if they can be competitive, So it'll be interesting to see kind of how that plays out and the dynamic of that for the Thunder next year. Magic, very much the same, because the fans want them to be in that play-in race. They want them to be good. They're tired of being bad, so they're going to try to compete too, for sure. So it'll be fun to see kind of where these teams end up heading into the season, and then halfway point what they're doing.
It'll be interesting to see also if Presti takes another job. I think he was rumored, like LeBron really wanted him, but obviously I don't think that's going to happen. But like he has all this like Trevor Trove of picks. Like if he leaves the franchise in a good place.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was on mute. I don't see that, man, just because he has so much control there. You know what I mean? Like
and he's not really under that much pressure. Like under the Lakers, he'd be under a lot of pressure, like another contender.
Exactly. So I think, and he, Ben Alomar, whenever we were out at sports business class, he worked with the Thunder, and I asked him a couple, it was kind of quizzing him about working with the Thunder. What was that like? What's Presti like? And he was pretty candid about it. And he told a story about heading into the Westbrook draft. And he said that there was him, he was the head of like analytics at the time, and he had like 2 interns, he said, and like interns, like low level guys, right? But and he said it was him, those 2 guys, and the Presti, and in the room. And Presti said, all right, and basically the pick is either going to be Russell Westbrook or Brook Lopez. I need every bit of information, analytics, everything that you can give me on those 2 guys. That's kind of where we're at. And then he said, if this leaks, if this gets out, you guys are the only ones that know, and you're fired, basically. And that's kind of how he runs the ship. And you can see that, as a Thunder fan, you never know what they're up to. Trade deadline, there's always leaks and rumors, this or that, and then out of nowhere, we're getting Enes Kanter or whoever it may be, like that kind of thing. So that's why I kind of love, exactly, like I kind of love it, because he's proven himself to have, be pretty savvy, and obviously he has some blemishes. You can argue, Harden, this, that, whatever. But as a Thunder fan, it's one of those things where, don't even listen to the rumors. Don't even pay attention to that, because who knows, whatever Presti's going to do, he's going to do, and it's going to kind of come out of left field. Kind of same thing with the draft picks. Like no one had Giddey going to the Thunder at 6 last year. We picked Giddey, boom. Like he seems to be a pretty good pick, So yeah, I'm not. I have guys that obviously I want, and things I want the Thunder to do. I've already talked about that a little bit, but whatever Sam Presti's going to do is what that man's going to do. And as a Thunder fan, I got faith in it. So we'll see where this thing plays out. We got so many picks, though. We're not done, So,
and the Thunder usually hit on their picks when they're that high. I mean, I don't think they've been that high since before Giddey. I don't think they were that high since maybe Westbrook.
Harden.
Okay.
Yeah. Harden. But yeah, I mean, last time we picked number 2, we got KD. So let's do that again. You can even leave after 7 or 8 years or whatever. Like that's fine. Just whatever. Let's roll it out though.
Yeah, we'll see.
I think the Magic hit on their number one picks too. We got Dwight and we got Shaq. So it's been like 20 years, but I have faith that we can make that luck happen again.
And
So
they had
Yusuf was
Weber.
saying.
They had Weber too, but
Chris
obviously
Webber
they traded him.
for
Oh yeah.
They traded him and a couple picks
Penny
for
Hardaway.
Penny. So yeah,
Yeah.
that actually worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
All been pretty good all-stars and led the team to the finals. So who's gonna be the next guy?
Yeah. Paolo.
I did want to talk Dallas with Omar just because he does live in Dallas and he watches them maybe from a Magic fan perspective, but
It's my second team,
Yeah, what have you seen from them since they traded Porzingis?
Porzingis, yeah. So I think initially when they traded him, maybe I don't know if it was just because of getting rid of Porzingis, or if it was just the honeymoon stage when you trade away a player and you get new ones and they start playing better right after they get traded. Dinwiddie was playing pretty well when he first got traded to the Mavs. I don't think what's his name, Davis Bertans played too much in the regular season, but Dinwiddie was playing good. He played solid, I think, during the Jazz series. He had some games where he was actually scoring for them off the bench. But so during the Sun series, he was shooting pretty terribly. I think he was shooting somewhere around like 30%. So like I'd say, Porzingis is obviously a much better, I'd say, overall player than Dinwiddie and Bertans obviously combined. But I think it works out better for the team dynamic though. I think Maxi Kleber playing their like 3-and-D type center has been working out really well for them, especially like you could see him against Ayton. You could see him really cooking Rudy Gobert. He was torching him at the 3-point line. Won a couple of games literally by himself by hitting like 7 threes. I like the way that the Mavs are playing. Basically a lot of like length and on the wings. You got Dorian Finney playing really good defense. You got Reggie Bullock, and they're actually hitting their threes, right? So that's, I think, key for the Mavs. They're gonna be playing the Warriors, obviously, so that's really tough. They're gonna have to guard the perimeter a lot more. And I think if Luka continues playing like how he's been playing throughout the playoffs, then I think they definitely stand a chance. Obviously the Warriors are the favorites, but so the Suns were obviously the favorites. But the Mavs, the way they're playing, if they stay hot, I think they could win the series. Even if they don't, I think it's a win for them this season with the team that they currently have.
Yeah, first year under Jason Kidd, man. I mean, yeah, they've shown great improvement. So, and it's interesting, normally you trade away the guy that you said it, Porzingis is probably the best player in that trade, but the team got better. So, and it's interesting to see what Jason Kidd's done with them just stylistically in the playoffs with, playing that small, space lineup and having the 3-and-D center in there, like you said. So they're fun. It's gonna be a fun matchup. I'm excited to see it. The Suns versus Golden State would have been fun in its own right too. But Luka is probably the most exciting player remaining in the playoffs. And I mean, I don't know. Steph's pretty exciting too.
Jimmy Butler was pretty good last night too.
I think all 4 teams have that one guy who's gonna be really excited to watch right now.
Yeah, it's tough. Every time you watch a different game and whoever goes off that game, you're like, that's the best player remaining.
Yeah.
So it's easy to get caught up in the immediate like recency bias there. But Luka, I mean, especially at his age, he's already proven to come in and just be so skilled and just a bucket, but not just that. I mean, a playmaker too, somebody that can create for his team. And so it'll be interesting to see how the Warriors try to guard him and the Mavericks overall with them playing, that 5-out lineup a lot. So, and there's just going to be a lot of small ball there. So it should be hopefully a lot of points, a lot of excitement, a lot of fun. I don't even know who I'm cheering for. Either way, man. Like I don't necessarily like either one of these teams, but either way, I could get behind either one of them to some degree.
It's crazy because Luka's like we were saying, like Jabari and Paolo, they're offensive, like engines, but he was like the most perfect immediate engine guy. Like he was immediately the number one guy on the team, which is insane.
Yeah. And man, why was he not the number one pick? Like that's it. And I know that this is like hindsight, and anyone can say this, but I swear, whenever they were coming in that draft, I was like, I would pick Luka. I'd pick Luka. I'd pick Luka. Number one, give me Luka. Like, I don't care. That's the style of player that I want. Like, I don't want Ayton, because we
Imagine
see
Luka and Booker on the same team.
that's what I'm saying. Or like,
Ooh.
what are you doing, Marvin Bagley? Oh my god.
And I feel like the Kings, they had like the Slovenian coach at the time. Or was it Phoenix
Yeah.
that had it? One of them.
No, it was
Igor.
Phoenix. It was
It
Phoenix.
was Phoenix.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they had Igor.
But they had they had the Vladi was in the front office, so they still had the kind of Eastern European vibe going. That was an all-time bad pick, Marvin Bagley. Man, come on, that was terrible. But
Luka,
yeah,
Luka's
Sorry, go
trying to
ahead.
do his best, like 2011 Dirk type of thing, where there's no really clear all-star on the second, second fiddle or second banana, third banana, whatever. There's no clear all-star. I guess what was the best player on that team? Maybe Tyson Chandler or Jason Terry, maybe.
I mean, maybe Jason Kidd.
Even then, he
Was
was
Jason
kind
Kidd
of
on that team?
he was the end of
Yeah.
his career. But
Yeah, they just had a bunch of.
Yeah.
I mean, was Sean Marion still on that team?
Yeah,
too?
I think so.
yeah, but
they're
they
kinda
just
at
had
the
a
end of career.
bunch of good 3-and-D guys.
It's like high level role players on the team. And
Yeah.
Dirk.
That's very similar for sure. And that's what makes it really impressive to me. Is like, I mean, don't get me wrong, Brunson and Dinwiddie have stepped up at times and had really good games for him. But man, it's Luka, and what really stuck out to me was like the way that he just put it to him in that Sun series after getting down 0-2 and they're mocking him this or that, and then he clearly took that personally. And I love the pettiness, and like, you don't want somebody like super petty, like to some degree, like Russell Westbrook. It was detrimental at times to him.
Patrick
But-
Beverly.
Yeah, it could get detrimental. It's a very fine line, but like there's also times where it drove like Russell Westbrook to some of his greatest feats, and I feel like that's kind of it pushed Luka, like, I'm gonna prove these guys wrong. I'm gonna beat these guys. Like, I have no doubt that he was out there just trying to embarrass them, and you could see it whenever they were kicking their ass in Game 7, and he's looking. There's the picture that everyone's memeing of him looking at Booker, just smiling, man, just like he knows. Like, he's walking off the court. Was it Game 5 where he was talking about everyone, talking tough when they're up or whatever. I love that energy from him. So that gets me so hyped, and that makes me want to see like the Mavericks just win the championship, just because Luka's just putting the team on his back and just driving them to that finals and to the championship.
What's the vibe in Dallas, Omar? Are there a
vibe?
lot of Mavericks fans, to be honest? Like, are they mostly
There are a
Cowboys
lot of
fans?
Mavericks fans. Yeah, I mean, I haven't been going to the playoff games, obviously, but like my cousin, he has season tickets, and he's been pulling up the game, and like, he sends me videos, and the atmosphere there looks like really high. They're the Western Conference Finals now. We got Brunson's, I guess, it's obviously the second fiddle on the team. Been a little inconsistent, but he's been running the ship pretty good whenever Luka's on the bench. And I'm curious to see what the Mavs are going to do with him this offseason, because I think he's due for a contract. And so I'm not sure how much, Brunson's going to demand and whatnot.
He's going to get paid.
I don't know. Yeah, he's going to get paid for sure. Like, I wonder if the Mavs are going to want to pay him, keep him around, or what's going to happen with that. Because the Mavericks definitely need to surround Luka with more talent if they actually want to win a championship. Luka's doing the best he can with the team he's got. He's working well. But I think they really need a second star on that team.
What's the deal with Tim Hardaway? Is he injured completely out?
Yeah, I think broken foot or something.
Okay.
He's been out for the whole year.
Yeah, that's actually not been talked about at all. Like in the playoffs, I feel like you always see him on the bench, but they don't barely mention that he was probably their second best player probably.
Yeah, him. I mean, I don't know. Any given night, if you had him, Brunson, and Dinwiddie, any given night, that one of those guys could be your second leading scorer and a guy that can kind of take over during stretches. So I think they definitely miss him, and he's kind of in the same mold as Bullock and Finney Smith, where he's got some length. He's maybe not as good of a defender there, but he's not.
He's probably better on offense than those guys. Like,
he'll get a bucket.
dribble wise.
Yeah, absolutely. So
better ball handler. He can get hot. I think he's kind of more of a streaky 3-point shooter. He'll either give you like a lot of good shots, or he'll be missing. Either or. But like, that's what the Mavericks could use. They could use some luck. Against like the Warriors, they're gonna need someone to get hot besides Luka to start cooking. For them to stand a chance. I feel like.
If I remember that 2011 Dallas team, I think they beat the Thunder in the conference finals, right? So like it was kind of same type of thing where like the other team has more stars, but I guess that was a young team, right?
That was a young team. I was actually at that game. I think I went to a couple of those games. I was at the game where went to overtime and Dirk just like could not miss. I want to say it was game 5 or
I remember one of the games
maybe
he had like
4.
25 free throws or something.
Yeah, maybe it was game 4 because I think that the Thunder didn't have home court advantage. That was so long ago. That was tough. I can't remember. But I remember, yeah, I want to say it was game 4 and the Thunder were down 2-1 going into it. And so you really got to win that game, to push it to 2-2. And they had a good chance. But I remember Dirk just could not be stopped. Like it didn't matter how good of defense Serge Ibaka put on him. He had that hand up in his face as best you could, but Dirk would just hit this little, fadeaway leaner shot that you can't block it because he's release point and his height and all that stuff. And then, yeah, or he'd go to the line if he wasn't, he'd either get fouled or make a shot and he'd go to the line and he was automatic. It was, yeah, he made like 25, 30 free throws and just kind of crushed the Thunder. And I remember walking out of that game being like, damn, like that was it, man. The Mavericks they're winning the series and Dirk can't be stopped. Like you just had that feeling that dude was at the baddest man going at that time. Kind of like Giannis last year, where there's just that guy that's it. You can't stop him no matter what you do. That was Dirk that year. So could be Luka this year.
Yeah, it could be. There's always like you said, there's always the one guy that looks like pretty much unstoppable in the playoffs. And it's just fun to watch. Like Dirk that year like stands out the most, I think, just because there wasn't like a big second star. But Omar, you think Dallas can win the serise? Or would you still pick the Warriors?
I mean, based on like, the odds, I would probably take the Warriors, but like I think you cannot count out the Mavericks at this point, Took out the Jazz, took out the number 1 team in the West, the Suns. They're in the finals last season, I think, we got an older Stephen Curry now. We got Klay Thompson in hit. Like he hasn't played that much this season yet. He's probably more warmed up now, but he's still coming off, what was it, the ACL injury?
Achilles and ACL, both.
Okay, both of them, yes. He's been slowed down a lot, So you got an old Draymond. That team is getting old. You got the young Jordan Poole over there, obviously. I don't believe who got injured on the Warriors?
Gary Payton, yeah.
Gary Payton, is he playing this
I
year?
feel like that would be
right?
he would be a huge miss for the Warriors this series. I don't think he's playing yet, like a broken elbow.
Well, yeah. I think there's a small chance he comes back in the series. I haven't looked into it, but I remember whenever he went out, I don't think it was a broken elbow, it was like dislocated, and I remember hearing it was kind of a mixed timeline. Like they weren't really sure how he would initially like kind of recover, how quickly, but I think there's a small chance he might come back. And he's a good player. I mean, he's a really good defender for him. So he might be somebody that they really could use as for 8 to 12 minutes on Luka, just to put somebody that's just going to kind of
even
dog
Brunson.
him.
He could shut down Brunson.
That's true too. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to me to see, because if I'm Jason Kidd, and obviously I'm not, but I'm looking at ways that I can kind of do. I'm probably trying to take it back to a similar strategy of what, I mean, I guess it's kind of what they did against the Suns a little bit, where they're targeting Chris Paul, but also what they were doing against the Jazz, where they're trying to target Rudy Gobert a lot. I feel like that's what they need to do to win, and the person they need to probably target the most is Steph. But then obviously, the Warriors have always kind of dealt with that as the person that you're trying to target. And they always find a way to kind of overcome it. So Steve Kerr will have his, adjustments that he'll make too. So I think it should be hopefully a fun coaching matchup as well. Kidd obviously doesn't have all the coaching experience, but he brings plenty of playing experience and to the table. So
you saw that clip of him going around. He was like yelling he was like, switch, scram, stick to this guy, stick to this guy.
Yeah, I didn't realize that clip was actually of him. I thought it was one of the players mic'd up talking. Oh, that was him. Yeah, that was good. That was a clip. They played good defense there in that sequence.
Yeah, they're listening to him too. Like not every team is that coachable. I think especially I think Dallas is more of a younger team, so I think they would listen and follow his lead a bit more.
It kind of feels like a little bit like of a self-fulfilling prophecy to some degree, where like they kind of came in and started seeing some success with playing that 5 out and really targeting Rudy Gobert and during that series, and kind of buying into what they were doing there. And as things continue to go well, got a little fly buzzing me right now. Yeah, as things were going well, it's easier to be like, okay, yeah, this is it, this is working, and your effort even goes up, to another gear maybe you didn't even know you had at the time, because everything's just kind of clicking. And I feel like, obviously they got down to 0-2 to the Suns, but I feel like that's kind of what happened, is that they started seeing that success, seeing it, and really, especially on the defensive end. And they were already an improved defensive team throughout the season. But yeah, you can see it's not like they are running out like just a bunch of guys that you think of as like defensive stoppers. They have guys that are solid defenders, but there's not one guy out there that you're like, oh, this is the lockdown defender. But they just are all playing together, all executing the screen and roll coverages that they have in place, and talking, communicating, doing all of those things, and really making up for the fact that a lot of times they're playing without that size, without that rim protector, or without the rebounding, and they're scrambling to get those rebounds.
Sometimes when you play small, I feel like the guards and the forwards like play a little bit faster and
just
move around a bit more.
Yeah, it just gets you flowing, man. It just gets your blood going. You know what I mean? Like, if you're a small guy and you're out there, but you're like, I'm a big now, it just gives you a little extra swagger.
Yeah. I think we can wrap it up there. Looking forward to the game tonight. But thanks for coming on, guys. And hopefully we'll do some more maybe draft stuff, maybe closer to the draft, obviously after the season and free agents. Actually, the draft is before free agency, right? So it should be an interesting time in the calendar.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you guys for joining me. See you.
Thank you, man.